John List appeared as the perfect son, husband, and father. He worked hard as an accountant in a nearby bank to provide for his family. The New Jersey house he lived in with his mother, wife, and 3 children had 19 rooms, including a ballroom, marble fireplaces, and a Tiffany glass ceiling. List and his family were the embodiment of the American dream in 1965. They went to church every Sunday as devout Lutherans, and List taught Sunday classes. Everything looked great on the surface. But the reality was the opposite of what appeared. John List is a dedicated accountant and an exemplary father. In 1971, John List lost his bank job at the age of 46. Subsequent jobs were not successful. He couldn't tell his family about his loss of income. So, he spent his days at the train station, reading the newspaper and secretly stealing from his mother's bank accounts to pay the mortgage. He refused to resort to welfare, as it would entail embarrassment in society and violate the principles of self-reliance he learned from his father. It is difficult to believe that the solution he arrived at would have been more acceptable to his father, but John List later said that it seemed to him like the only option, to kill his mother, wife and children. One day in 1971, John List shot and killed his wife, Helen, his 16-year-old daughter, Patricia, his 15-year-old son, John, his 13-year-old son, Frederick, and his 85-year-old mother, Alma. They were systematically killed one by one. Helen was the first victim. List sent the children off to school and then shot her in the kitchen while she was drinking her usual morning coffee. Then he went up to the 3rd floor and killed his mother in her bed. He killed Patricia when she returned home from school, and then killed the youngest son, Frederick. He made himself a sandwich, closed his bank accounts, and cheered on his only surviving son, John, at the high school football game. He drove him home, then shot him in the chest. A cold-hearted crime and a successful escape. John List placed the bodies of his family members on top of sleeping bags in the ballroom, then wrote a letter to his priest, who he thought would understand. He was afraid that, facing a world full of evil and poverty, his family would turn away from God. This was the only way to ensure their safe arrival to heaven. However, he was not willing to bear the consequences of his actions in this world. In an attempt to confuse the police, he cleaned up the crime sites and used scissors to remove his image from every picture in the mansion. He cancelled all deliveries and called his children's schools to inform their teachers that the family would be on vacation for a few weeks. He turned on the lights and the radio, leaving religious hymns playing in the empty rooms of the house. He slept in the mansion where his family lay dead, then walked out the door the next morning, not seen for 18 years. It wasn't a month before the neighbors began to suspect something was going on in the List mansion, where the lights were always on and the windows empty. When authorities entered the Westfield, New Jersey, home on December 7, 1971, they heard organ music. They also found a letter from John List explaining that the bloodied bodies on the ballroom floor were his family members, euthanized. He saved the lives of people he loved. The FBI found his car parked at Kennedy International Airport in New York City, but they never found him. The evidence was cut off. 18 years after the horrific crime. Jump back in time 18 years to 1989. New Jersey prosecutors had a plan. They had a forensic art expert, Frank Bender, create a physical statue of John List as Bender imagined him, giving him a nose like a hawk, furrowed eyebrows, and horn-rimmed glasses. Psychologists theorized that he might be wearing the same glasses he wore in his youth to remind him of more successful days. It was a wonderful statue by John List. When John List's murder story aired on America's Most Wanted, on May 21, 1989, 22 million viewers watched the Frank Bender statue. Reports started coming in. One of the reports came from a woman in Richmond, Virginia, who thought her next-door neighbor, Robert Clark, looked very similar to the statue. The reporting person said her neighbor was also an accountant and attended the church. Authorities went to Clark's home and spoke with his wife, whom he met at a church social gathering. The story turned out to be the solution to a mystery that had been going on for 18 years. It turned out that List had changed his identity and moved to Colorado under the assumed name of Robert Clark. The nickname worked, and he kept it when he moved to Richmond. The trial of John List. Police in Virginia arrested murderer John List on June 1, 1989, just 9 days after his case aired on America's Most Wanted. At his trial in 1990, defense lawyers argued that List suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of his military service in World War II and Korea. Specialist psychologists instead believed that List was going through a midlife crisis, and, as the allegation suggested, that was no justification for killing 5 innocent people. Finally, John List was convicted by a jury and sentenced to 5 life terms in a New Jersey prison. In an interview with Connie Chung in 2002, List said that he did not kill himself after killing his own family because he felt it would prevent him from getting to heaven. All List wants is to be reunited with his wife, mother, and children in the afterlife, where he believes there will be no pain or suffering. John List died in prison in 2008 at the age of 82. The New Jersey mansion where John List lived with his family was destroyed by a fire several months after the bodies of family members were discovered. Authorities were unable to determine the cause of the fire, and a new house was built on the land years later. The memory of the murders still haunts Westfield residents. In an interview in 2008, the parents told a New Jersey journalist that the children would not pass through the property, and did not even want to live on the same street. Who can blame them? Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell, and if you like the show, click like.